So, person may be wondering, why did I term the last video Stop Oromo Genocide? I used to talk to a lady named Zenabu. I'm not going to say her last name. I'm still subscribed to her. We just stopped talking because, you know, she was going from uh, Dubai back home to Ethiopia. The thing that I noticed is that, you know, after a while, we became disinterested in the conversation due to language barriers. Um, I couldn't necessarily speak Amharic. Um, I was trying to translate everything so I could understand her culture and understand who she was. Um, and you know what? I learned a lot, and I hope that she learned a lot about me. I would think she did, right? Um, but apart from the fact that we didn't really get to, keep in touch with one another, the thing that I noticed is that when she went back to Ethiopia, she was going back to conflict. And, I think that, her employers out there in, um, I don't even think it was was it Dubai or was it Lebanon, or it was some middle, it was one of the Middle Eastern countries, one of the Mediterranean countries. It was one of them. And I think it was Dubai, but she would send me pictures of her with the family, and you know, she would like send me videos of how, and this again, this wasn't, a woman who, was disrespectful to tradition, was disrespectful to um, herself. She understood the struggle that Black Americans went through, and she understood the struggle that Burkina, West African, and Ethiopians went through. She would tell me about the genocide that's happening in our country. Um, and so we would be talking, and I would have to translate what she was saying. And we would be again, we would be talking on WhatsApp. We would be talking on there, and I would be learning a lot from, her and the other people who were from Ethiopia. The brothers, the sisters. Um, and she told me like you know uh, what breakfast meant, and what it meant in Ethiopian language, Amharic. She told me, I think it was called furfur. Um, it was kind of like, I guess it was like, according to the image, right? It was like crumbled charo from the day before or something like that. Um, a crumbled taff, you know. Um, so yeah, fear. That's what it was called, fear. I had to think about it. Um, this was when I was really starting to learn about Ethiopian culture. Like, you know, I reached out to her, and you know, I noticed that. But what I noticed is that when she was doing her videos, when she got back from, that country where she was doing um, visa work, and she stopped making videos because the people from her country, or even herself, right? She wasn't getting the attraction that some of the other large, you know, content creators were getting from her country. Um, and I noticed that it's like wherever you are, like you're shadow banned, right? If you're a dark skinned person, you're shadow banned. And she was a dark skinned Ethiopian, right? She was a Romo. So like and you see this also with like, you know, African American. I mean, you see this a lot with like Eritreans who look African American, who are, you know, like very dark skinned. And you see this, right? They're shadow banned, you know, even with the brothers like who are, you know, because I'm subscribed to all of them, really. The ones who I came across earlier, like, you know, I'm subscribed to all of them. Because, like, they were the main supporters of my channel when I was doing my earlier videos. You know, so, like, I saw that, and she just, you know, she stopped making videos. And I don't know why she came back so early, because, like, she was telling me like she was supposed to be there for a couple years. You know what I mean? She was supposed to be there, and she was getting tired of, you know, cleaning up for the family and having to iron the kids' clothes. She was a nanny basically. And I was confused about, I kept wondering like, you know, why was she forced to choose this type of job? You know, like why be a nanny? And I noticed that also, like, you know, people who are very caring, like they end up in, you know, being the nurse aide or being the CNA or being the nurse tech, or, you know, the medicine tech, or they'll be something like under a nurse, or, you know, under a nurse team or nurse management. It always happens with Africans, especially West Africans, and, you know, East Africans as well. You don't too much see it with South Africans. I didn't see it, you know. But I kept wondering, like, you know, why did she stop making videos? And, you know, I asked another Ethiopian lady who subscribed to my page. I asked her, I said, you know, have you heard from Zenabu? Have you heard from her? And she told me, like, because she can speak English a little good, right? A little well. She was telling me, like, nah, she haven't heard from her. And, like, you know, she hoped that, you know, anything wasn't wrong with her, anything like that. But the last video that I saw of her, like, when she was doing the live, you know, she was like, you know, selling goods from her village. And, you know, I was wondering, she was in the process of getting her house built, you know, but I was wondering, like, you know, what happened to her, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you hope that conflict doesn't visit someone, you know what I mean? Like, you hope that the employee relationship was not abusive. You know what I mean? So think about things like that. You know, if you don't hear from someone and, you know, something may happen, you got to check up on them. Great peace, Yakoki.